Okay. Here we go. Tanya for Purim, Tuesday, and on page 116, Achayenu. So we just finished an amazing chapter 33 in Tanya, where it spoke about um, having joy about God's presence and having joy that God has joy in our work of making the world from dark to light. So now we continue that the appropriate expression that we spoke about in chapter 33 of finding joy of the oneness of God, both in the default oneness, because Hashem's always one, and in the our partnership that we make oneness with Hashem. So what do you do with that? Like, it's interesting because I actually really, I never learned chapter 33, Lamed Gimel so well as that we did this year. And I'm like, it really touched me. Like, wow, it's like you just have joy because that just by being, because Hashem is being with you. So there's no doing, it's just being. There was a secondary joy that Hashem has joy in your doing, and you're doing the work. But initially there's joy in just being. The secondary joy was in that you're doing. So now that we know there's a joy of oneness by just being, and there's a joy of your doing, making more revealed oneness by transforming the concealment darkness to light in your life. So therefore, what's your goal now? Your goal now is to be totally dedicated to revealing oneness of God. Because what else is there? What else would give you joy? So it's known, chapter 34 continues on that note, that the patriarchs are truly the divine chariot. 34, chapter 34. It's known, the famous quote, I think it's from the Zohar, originally, the patriarchs, Avram, Yitzchak, Yaakov, were the chariot of God. In other words, just like a chariot has no will other than fulfilling the rider's destination, they were trying to be the chariot for God's will to get to its destination. Throughout their lives, they did not cease from, even momentarily, from binding their mind and soul to the master of the universe, with the aforementioned absolute surrender to his unity. And after them came all the prophets, who similarly nullified themselves before God's unity in varying degrees, each according to the level of his soul and his understanding. Now you understand what a prophet is. It's someone who's trying to surrender themselves in a very overt way. The rank of our teacher Moses, peace be unto him, surpassed them all. All of him, our sages said, the Shekhinah spoke out of Moses' throat. It's a quote from the Zohar, that the Shekhinah would, Moshe was a channel for the Shekhinah. I'm sorry? At Mount Sinai, Israel were privileged to experience a glimmer of this level of bittul, of surrender, but they cannot endure it, as our sages have said. At every divine utterance, their souls took flight. I don't want to. Okay. They cannot endure it, as our sages have said. At every divine utterance, their souls took flight. This flight of their soul actually represents the self-nullification spoken of previously. There's a midrash that the Jews at Mount Sinai, their souls left their bodies and had Hashem to resurrect them. What does that mean? Their neshamas left. It means they total bittul. Like they just couldn't contain it. They couldn't contain the surrender, so their souls actually just left the body. And Hashem said, no, go back in the body. Therefore, because they're unable to live with this feeling of self-surrender, of bittul before Hashem, that's why later on Hashem commands them right after the whole, the giving the Torah, then the teshuvah of the golden calf. After all that, the first thing Hashem says, make a sanctuary, in which would be the Holy of Holies, the Kodesh HaKadoshim, wherein Hashem's Shekhinah, the presence, would dwell. Meaning there, his unity will be revealed, as we explained further in chapter 53. Ever since the temple was destroyed, now, So we are seeing, he's showing you a very quick history of the world, of the Jewish world, of it's really all about Bittul. Starting with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, then going to maybe it's locked, surely. Is it locked? Okay, fine. Anyways, history of the world. The patriarchs had bittul; they had surrendered to God. All the Moshe and the prophets all bittul to God. All the Jews around Sinai were raised to the level of prophets. They just couldn't contain it because their bodies weren't as refined as the prophets. So they kept on dying when they had this revelation. Then what happened? Sorry to be late. I just got to get my car. No problem. No problem. Then what happened was they. Then so what happened? Hashem needs the Jews to have bittul. He says, make it to Mishkan, so I can dwell in there with your representatives, the Kohanim, in some sort of, at least in some sustainable fashion. Now, since the temple was destroyed, what do? It says in the Gemara, the 4 cubits of halacha, the study of Jewish law, is the only sanctuary and abode with which the Holy One, blessed be He, has in this world. For the revelation was unity. Once the temple was destroyed, the idea of revealing Hashem came through learning Torah, particularly halacha, because that becomes the mechanism of revealing the divine will in the world. So we move from a geographic unity place called the temple. It's destroyed. We now have to be in this kind of people of the book, but not the book of just being like bookworms, people of the book of God's will. For the halachot set out before us are the actual embodiment of God's will and wisdom, right? Because halacha is God's will. Therefore, after one meditates deeply according to his ability on the subject of this above mentioned self-nullification, let him reflect in his heart as follows. And again, we're doing a little first-person self-talk direct from the Alter Rebbe. The capacity of my intelligence of my soul's root is too limited to constitute a chariot, an abode for God's unity and perfect truth. I can't be Moses, for my thought cannot grasp or apprehend his unity at all with any degree of comprehension in this world. Not an iota, in fact, of that which was grasped by the patriarchs and the prophets, who actually were conscious in a very overt way of God's unity to the point that they grasped it. They didn't just know about it. They felt in every fiber of their being. But we don't have that, Abel. We can maybe understand it, but we can't necessarily always grasp it at that full embodied way. Therefore, this being so, I will do the second best, what I can do, which is I will make Hashem a sanctuary and abode by studying Torah at fixed times by day and by night to the extent of my free time. As stipulated by the law governing each individual situation, set forth in the laws of Torah study. Right? So Hashem gives us a way, gives us a mitzvah to learn Torah. It's not just to learn Torah. It's to be a chariot for divine with our situational ability in life. How much you have to work, how much free time you have. When a person retires, they should be learning a lot of Torah because now God has made the situation. They don't have to earn a living, 9 to 5 as much, so they should learn more. And whenever stage in life, whenever you have more free time, you should learn more Torah because it's about becoming an abode for the divine, wisdom and will. As our sages say, even one chapter in the morning and one night can suffice if you're like you have to work crazy hours. You still have to learn a little bit in the morning and the night to be in a abode for Hashem at both times of the day. Thereby, his heart shall rejoice. He shall be glad and offer joyous thanks for his fortune, in meriting to be a host to the Almighty, twice each day, according to the extent of his available time and according to the capacity which God has granted him. This is a fascinating thing. I want to tell you is that, growing up in, Chabad culture, a lot of things from culture. You don't understand how they're ideological. And this is not even Chabad. This is just, Torah Judaism. But Chabad, I guess, has the kind of the mystical, underpinnings behind it. Torah. Learn Torah. Why you learn Torah? I think if you ask different, religious people, they'll give you different reasons. But here he says, learning Torah, even a little bit, if you can't learn more than that because of your work situation, it actually should be the most joyous time of your day. It actually should be the joy of your morning. Let's say it's 5 minutes in the morning and 5 minutes at night. Someone who's working, who's a peddler or whatever, is eking out a living in, destitute Russia. Not going to happen. Why? I'm recording on YouTube, so everyone's going to see this. The joy of the day is going to be your Torah study, because that's when you're really having this union with God.